We are finally settling into 2024. I'm shaking off my holiday recovery, and now I'm back at it and ready to take a look back at 2023 and how we did on my wish list. And then also I want to look forward and I want to set some goals for 2024. Last year's top 10 was kind of a swing for the fences list. I knew going in I wouldn't get everything, but let's see how well I did. So after we debrief from 2023, let's look ahead into the new year, 2024, and see what 10 books I've decided to take a run at this coming year. And then last but not least, it's been a long time coming, we are actually going to do the 10K giveaway. I know it's been a long time since I've mentioned that, but hey, we hit the number a long time ago. So now that things have settled down a little bit, let's finally circle back and give away some stuff. So stick around to the end of the video for the information regarding that. Let's dive into my top 10 wish list from 2023. Starting off, let's just go through the list. Captain America 100. Cry for Dawn #1. Pictured here is an Amazing Spider-Man 23 and a 9.2, but that was really just a stand-in. I wanted to pick up a 9.2 copy of ASM between 1 and 100 to continue working on that high grade ASM run that I'm working on. Next up, I was looking for a Vault of Horror 12, a Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles 1 first print, a Darkwing Duck #1. Next up after that is Strange Tales #89, the first appearance of Fin Fang Foom. After that, we have the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles serial mini comics. This is just a picture of #1, but there are actually 3 of them. Following that, we have Crime Patrol 15, and rounding out the list, Crime Patrol 16. These, of course, are the first 2 appearances of the Crypt Keeper, which predate the Tales from the Crypt comic. So now that we've refamiliarized ourselves with the list, let's see how I actually did. Well, if this were baseball, we wouldn't be doing too bad, I guess. 300's pretty decent. But out of the 10 comics I put on the list for 2023, I actually only managed to get 3 of them marked off. Darkwing Duck #1 was the first one I picked up. I found a copy of that when I was at Des Moines Comic-Con last summer. The Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles mini comics were actually a bit of a year-long quest for me. I started out, the first issue I picked up was actually #3, and I got that in a collection of paperwork and card backs and just kind of licensed products that paired with a toy collection that I actually bought in early 2022. I got a call back from the seller. He'd found some more stuff, and I went and picked that up early last year in 2023, and that's what started me on the journey. I followed that up with buying issue #1 from my buddy Eric, who owns STL Comics in St. Louis. He had just this immaculate #1 that came in, so I snapped that up, and then I wound up buying issue #2 to complete the set off of eBay late in the year, because it was just one of those things. It's like, I'm just gonna knock this out, and I went ahead and found a good deal on that one. It actually took a little longer to find one on eBay than I expected it to, but I was happy to finally get my hands on one of those. And then the big dog for the year, which really kind of slowed me down for the rest of 2023, was in September. I did manage to pick up a copy of Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles #1 first print. Of course, that was a CGC 9.2. I did a whole big video about it here on the channel, and I guess haven't stopped talking about it ever since, because yeah, it was kind of a big deal. So pretty excited about that one. Unfortunately, with making that big move, like I said, it did kind of knock me off my game for the rest of the year. I had a couple of shows I was going to, specifically like OFCON in the fall, which is one of my favorite shows. So as you can imagine, that TMNT took away a bit of my buying power, and I've had to behave myself for most of the rest of the year. So ultimately, I don't think I did too bad. Overall, I'm going to give myself an F- for the year. I would like to do better in 2024, which is why I've reevaluated some of the books I'm going to include on the list, and I wanted to make the top 10 a little more attainable. I don't think even so that I'm going to be able to get everything on the list for 2024, but I want to do better than I did in 2023 and only knocking 3 off. So I give myself an F-, mostly just to motivate myself to do better in the new year. And while I didn't do that great on the list that I made for myself at the beginning of the year, I wound up having a really good year as collecting goes. I just didn't stick to the list that well. So here are what I consider to be my 10 best pickups from 2023. Like we already discussed, of course, the TMNT #1 first print and the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles mini comics, those were great finds, things I'd wanted to find. And, you know, like I've said in the past, I didn't expect to find a TMNT first print last year. I just got lucky and, you know, opportunity knocked and I answered. So that was great. I would say my favorite book besides the Turtles one that I picked up last year is the Action Comics 50 that I found in a collection last fall. That one, as you can see right up here at the front of the list, it was one of the first books that came to mind when I thought about my best pickups for 2023. Next up, Death Rattle #1. This is a book I'd been hunting for a while, found it, wound up picking it up through a consignment collection that I had. If you're not familiar with this book, it's a early 70s horror indie title. It's pretty funky, very adult, and it actually has some story elements that were adapted into the original Alien script, which is why I'd wanted to hunt it down. It's a really funky, really awesome book. Next, I picked up a 1953 Tales of Terror annual, which is the third Tales of Terror annual. These annuals are fairly hard to find. #3, the 1953 version, is by far the most common of the three, so you got to start somewhere. So my buddy Tom had a copy of it. The price was right, so I went ahead and picked it up. Now I've just got the harder two to track down. You know me, I'm an EC fan, and we'll talk some more about that later. The next book that I really fell in love with from my pickups in 2023 is a Masters of the Universe mini comic. But it's not just any Masters of the Universe mini comic. It is the mini comic that came with the playset Eternia. If you're not overly familiar with He-Man or Masters of the Universe action figures, most all the toys came packaged with this little mini comic. Now, a lot of times there would be some doubling up. Figures would come with the same book. They didn't make a book specifically for every single figure across the line. Eternia had its own book, which for a $100 playset in the mid-'80s, you're damn right you're going to get your own comic with that, because that was big money. And it's suitable because the playset is absolutely huge. It's amazing. I picked up this toy collection I referenced earlier in 2022, and it had the Eternia playset in it. Part of what was in the second pickup from this same collection was a stack of extra Masters of the Universe mini comics, including the mini comic from Eternia, which if you go to buy it, it's around $100 just by itself. So being able to have that and just further complete the Eternia playset that I bought from this same seller was really cool. So I was super excited to find that. #7 here, Action Comics 242, the first appearance of Brainiac. Picked this up in a collection from a seller here in town last summer. I'd never had a copy of it before. If you've watched the channel for a while, you know I kind of have a thing for villains, and specifically villains' first appearances. And this book can be kind of tough, especially in mid to high grade. It's a hard book to find, and it's fairly valuable in any grade, as long as it's in one piece, really. So when I got the call and was going through the list of books that this seller had, and I saw that one, I was pretty excited. So Brainiac's debut in Action 242 made my top 10 list from last year. Behind the Action 50, that was by far the second coolest book I found in a collection for 2023. Up next is a book I got from my buddy Bry over at Bry's Comics. It is the air cover of the second print of TMNT #4. The cover of this book is actually the art that was supposed to go with Tales of the TMNT #1, which was being published around the same time. Through some mix-up at the printer, they actually put the regular TMNT logo on it and ran a few copies of the second printing of #4 with the wrong art. There's not a lot of these out there, and if I remember right, Bry had a small stack of these walk in a collection, graded them all out. I'm not a big stickler on grades. I was like, dude, what's the ugliest one you got? You know, put my name on that one, I'll take it. So I paid him out, he sent it out, and I got to check that relatively difficult box off of my Mirage run. And with picking up the first print of #1 as well, now I just need one more TMNT book and I'll have every single one of the Mirage run. All the second prints, all the oddball stuff. Just one more issue is all I'm after there. And then to round out 2023, I picked up the last 2 issues of Tales from the Crypt that I needed. Tales from the Crypt number 34 and Tales from the Crypt number 35. So I now have a complete run starting with Crypt of Terror 17, going all the way through Tales from the Crypt 46. All the horror Tales from the Crypt books are there. I just need the 2 crime books that were on my top 10 list for 2023 that didn't get picked up. So, you gotta have goals. We'll probably see those again in the future. Now let's take a look at the 10 books I want to find in 2024. As I mentioned, we are looping Crime Patrol 15 back around. It is on the list once again this year. This is the first appearance of the Crypt Keeper, and it's pricey. It's gonna hurt, but since I've got all the rest of them, it's time to go ahead and get these first 2 appearances of the Crypt Keeper. After that, Haunt of Fear number 4. This is a book I've talked about before, specifically when we've done some of our pre-code horror focused videos around Halloween the last couple years. This is an Al Feldstein cover. It's the first issue of Haunt of Fear that actually resets the numbering, so it's actually the 4th issue, which, sometimes those numbers can get a little confusing where you have, in Haunt of Fear's case, 2 issue 15s, 2 16s. So fresh numbering here. Haunt of Fear number 4. I love the mummy cover. It's one I've been chasing for a long time, and hopefully I'll be able to get that this year. Another carryover from last year is Cry for Dawn number 1. It's just a 90s indie book that I've always wanted since those days as a kid, reading Wizard Magazine, checking out those top 10s. So we're going to put that one back on the list. The 4th book I picked for 2024 is Adventure Comics 283. Like I already mentioned, I like to collect villain first appearances, and I'm slowly starting to get around to collecting some DC, some non-Batman DC, specifically some Superman-specific villains. So, got Brainiac last year. General Zod's a fairly big villain, I think you could say. Everybody knows him from the movies and stuff. And I really enjoy this Phantom Zone cover. It's just cool stuff. So that's a book I looked at a couple times last year, never quite pulled the trigger on it. So it's kind of stayed right there in the back of my mind, and I look forward to picking that up in 2024. The 5th book I've got here is just a personal favorite of mine, a great modern read. It's Nightly News number 1. It's Jonathan Hickman's first ever published comic book. Somehow I wound up with the rest of the set. It was a 6-issue miniseries when it came out. It was published by Image. I've had the trade paperback for as long as I can remember. I bought the 10th anniversary hardcover deluxe version when it came out. I've just never owned a number 1, so I'm going to track one down this year. It's officially on the list. I kind of cheated in the number 6 spot. This is actually 3 books, but it's 3 books I've talked about in the past. To the best of my knowledge, the first comic books I ever bought as a kid off of the spinner rack at my local grocery store were the 3 issues of the comic book adaptation of Ghostbusters 2 that were put out by Now Comics, who had the Real Ghostbusters license at the time. These things aren't particularly valuable, they just have a lot of sentimental value to me, and of course we've got another Ghostbusters sequel coming out this year, so Ghostbusters is kind of front of mind right now. So I've just decided that it's time to get a couple decent copies of these because my originals from when I was a kid are just shot. I can't find one of them. Another one has no cover, and one of them is just extremely well read. So it's time to get nice copies of these back into the PC just for me to enjoy. The 7th book on my 2024 list is that last issue of the Mirage run of Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles that I need, which is the NYCC convention variant of TMNT number 3. This is the one that has the Laird's photo sign in white. It's just slightly different coloring than the actual production version of issue 3. So once I knock this thing off my list, I will have 100% of that Mirage TMNT run, and I will feel complete as an 80s kid that I finally went back and completed my Ninja Turtles run. Book number 8 on the list is Archie's Madhouse number 24. This is the second appearance of Sabrina the Teenage Witch. I already have a Madhouse 22, which is her first appearance, and I have a 27, which is her first cover appearance. But in between those two, I don't have number 24, which is her second appearance. This is a book that I've run into once or twice in the past, and for whatever reason, just did not pull the trigger at the time. Dumb, probably, on my part, but it's a book that'll help plug a hole in my collection, and it shouldn't be too hard to track one of these down this year. Now, of the Archie books on the list, the number 9 book, Archie number 50, is going to be the more difficult of the two. It's probably not going to be more difficult to find, but it's going to be a lot harder on my pocketbook because this is one of the premier Good Girl art covers from the whole Archie run. This cover with Betty sitting on a couch is just one of the most desirable Good Girl art covers that you're going to find in this, in Pep, really just in general. It's a very desirable cover, and while it's not my favorite of the Innuendo covers, it's still a pretty solid one. It's definitely iconic, and I'm down to the point where I filled in most of the issues around it, so now to kind of string that run out a little further, I'm going to have to go after this one, even though it's going to hurt a bit more than everything else up to this point in my Archie run. And I've seen some more competitive prices with it lately, so hopefully I'm going to be able to buy that on a little bit of a dip, or at least maybe not quite the peak that it had been in recent years. And then last but not least, in the number 10 spot for my 2024 wish list is Weird Science number 8. This book features a story called Seeds of Jupiter, which also has some plot elements which were lifted for the movie Alien, which is one of my favorite movies. So to partner up with the book I bought last year, Death Rattle number 1, I want to go ahead and grab a Weird Science number 8 to just, piece together another little place where the writers of Alien borrowed from. So that's my top 10 want list for 2024. I've already been scouring the internet and looking around, keeping my eye out while I'm scrolling through Instagram and Facebook groups and all that stuff. So hopefully we will get a start on that list soon, and we'll be a little more productive with 2024's wish list than we were with 2023's list. But time will tell, and we'll check back in a year and see how I did. Now let's get to the thing that I'm sure we've all been waiting for. Let's talk about the 10K giveaway. As you may remember, if you watched the first video where I revealed what the giveaway would include, we've got 5 prizes. We have a Hex X Jim Lee collector's backpack. That's kind of what I consider to be the biggest prize, the main prize. I've got a Como Comic Books hat, and then I have 3 comics that I'm giving away, so we'll have 5 winners. So we have a Spider-Woman number 1, an Iron Man 100, and a Daredevil number 179 to round out our 5 prizes. I've also got a couple of signed issues of Swaggle Sanity number 1, and a couple of our winners may find a little something extra in their prize once they get it. So if you happen to win one of the giveaway items and you open it up and you find a little something extra, just consider that to be a little double secret bonus for your giveaway winnings. So here's the important stuff. What do you have to do to win the giveaway? First things first, of course, you've got to be a subscriber to the channel. We've already hit the 10K mark, so we're good there. We're not waiting anymore. Everything's good. But if you're not subscribed, you don't get a prize. That's just the way it is. Step 2, you have to like this video. And step 3, you have to post a comment in the comment section for this video, letting me know what your favorite pickup of 2023 was. I'll let the comment section percolate for 7-10 days, something like that. Once I decide to cut it off, we'll go through, we'll have 5 comments randomly selected, and those will be our winners. How I'm going to handle it, I will reach out to the winners in order in which they were picked. So the first person picked gets first pick of their prizes. So if you'd rather have one of the books, you can pick one of the books. If you'd rather have the backpack or the hat, you know, pick whatever you want, and then we will go from there. The next winner will get to pick their next prize, and so on and so forth. Now, I will also pick a couple of alternates just in case I can't get a hold of one of the primary winners. Hopefully that doesn't happen, but you know, better safe than sorry. What I'll do, if you were selected as one of the winners, I will reply to your comment and have you DM me over on Instagram. So be sure that you follow me over there, and we'll just hash out all the details. I'll get your information or whatever, and we will get your prize in the mail. One thing to note, this is US only. So if you're in Canada or another country, I'm sorry. Just due to postage rates and stuff like that, this does need to be a US only giveaway. But that's all there is to it. Like I said, subscribe to the channel, like the video, drop a comment, let me know what your favorite pickup of 2023 was, and wait, and hopefully you will hear from me soon and we'll get you a prize out in the mail. I hope everybody has had a great holiday season. I know I've been just hiding from the world for the last couple weeks, just trying to decompress from the holidays, kind of reset, get ready for the new year, and I feel like I'm coming out of it. We go pretty crazy here at the Stewart house. We burn the candle at both ends, and it literally takes us weeks to reset after the madness of the holidays and get ready for the rest of the year. So I'm happy to be coming through that, and the simple truth is it's time to get back at it because convention season is right around the corner. We've got our big show, Planet Comic Con Kansas City, coming up the second weekend in March. It's under 50 days at this point, so I've got to get my butt in gear and get a complete reprice done on all the inventory, go through all my wall books, just all the fun things. I'm building a new wall. There's tons of stuff to do between now and then, so it's going to be a wild ride for the next couple months. I hope you've been braving these cold temperatures well and getting out and doing some comic shopping. I haven't been, but you know, do better than me, and hopefully you find some deals out there. We've got a lot of good stuff coming up in the next couple weeks. We've got the winter top 10 comic series kicking off. I've even penciled in another collector series video, a keys for every budget video in there. So we're going to start getting some of that good old Como comic books content coming back to you on a regular basis. Thanks for hanging with me through the craziness of the holidays. We're getting back up and running here, and I look forward to seeing you in a future video. Collect responsibly, and I'll see you in the next one.